Hi, my name is Nicholas Horwath, and today I'm going to tell you the story, or the history, should I say, of my grandfather. He was born in 1931 in a household of 17, so plenty of brothers and sisters, and it was primarily a Catholic household. Moving forward about 25 years was the Hungarian Uprising, to which my grandfather participated. The Hungarian Uprising, if you don't know, occurred in 1956 and was caused by a Soviet invasion in 1945, close to when the World War II ended. And so the Soviets invaded, they took over, they placed their policies on the Hungarian people, and they were finally getting sick of it. So in 1956, they fought back, and it lasted about 8 months, and finally the Hungarians took back control of their own country. After the uprising, my grandfather decided he would immigrate to Canada to get away from the violence of Hungary. And so he immigrated to Canada in 1957, and where he immigrated to, or where he finally ended up, was in Ladysmith, British Columbia, which is located on Vancouver Island, which is off the coast of BC. And so anyway, since this was 1957, a lot of Vancouver Island had not been developed yet. And so there were some houses that he could buy, and he did. He bought one house at about $8,000 back in the day, so fairly cheap. However, during the time, pretty expensive when you're only making a couple cents an hour. And so he worked at a mill for the meantime to make his money. And while working at this mill, he would go to work 8 hours a day, just like anyone would, even what we do nowadays, except afterwards, when he goes home, he went and worked on a new house, which is the house he lives in today. So he built this house for almost 10 years, and this is even including when his children were born. He had met my grandmother during this time, and when they had met, they got together, they lived in the old house, and Grandpa was still doing his thing, and Grandma decided to stay home as a stay-at-home mom, and that's when my mom and my uncle were born. And so when they were born, the house was still being built, and it wasn't until my mom and my uncle were maybe 4 or 5 that the house was finally completed. And they moved in, and my grandfather decided that he would rent the old place. And so for a number of years, he rented out the place. In the beginning, it was just a simple handshake or gentleman's agreement between him and the renters. And so that being said, the renters didn't exactly have to follow the rules that he would set forth. So eventually, one time or another, the renters, once they left, the place would be a mess. And so they wouldn't clean up the place would be trashed, whether it be plumbing, electric, something would go wrong. And so he'd have to go in and fix it. Well, when I was getting older, I was about the age of 10, I was recruited by my grandfather to go help him. And so I learned through the process how to plumb, electric, roofing, so on and so forth, things around the house. And so I was this little helper. And so I'm gracious that I was able to do that, because I learned the skills that I like to retain today that I still do around my house and other people's house. It's a simple maintenance. And even to this day, he eventually sold the house. He did sell the house eventually, because he's getting older. He is getting close to 84. He's 84 now, so he's getting old. Doesn't know when he's going to go, and he wants to make sure my grandma has something left over if he does pass away. And so they sold the house. She's going to use that as retirement money, and in that case, there's really no more maintenance. But still, to this day, my grandfather does find things to do. He is a workaholic. He cannot sit still. He can't sit still. He will always find something to do. He'll go outside. He'll tinker with something, work in his garden, so on and so forth. And so even to this day, he's still working as hard as he was when he was only the age of 25 and still building his house. So anyway, that's the story of my grandfather, and I'm glad I shared it with you.